Today we are going to create a work of art based on nature, and we are going to focus mainly on leaves. So I have an actual leaf from outside that I'm using to draw from observation. So I'm really going to look at this leaf and I'm going to draw what I see in it. So I'm not just going to make up the design in my head, I'm using my eyeballs to see what it really looks like. Now on a leaf, depending on the shape, mine's a little more like tall and skinny of a shape, but on every leaf you're going to have the veining that you see, and that's kind of where I want you to start with your drawing, is think of the lines or look at the lines that you see inside the leaf itself and let that be your starting point. Now I am drawing this very, very, very close up. We are being inspired by the artist Georgia O'Keeffe, who is known for zooming in super close to make her artworks almost seem abstract because she's so zoomed in. So I'm drawing quite large here on my paper, and there will be parts of this leaf that I don't even fit on the paper, and that's the point. So I'm going to be working at a slant, at a diagonal, because I like the way that looks as a composition for the leaf. And so on my leaf here, I have this bottom part that curves, and then we go straight into the leaf and it becomes a little straighter. So this line, I'll start here at the bottom. Oops. And I'm really going to look to what this looks like in real life. And I'm going to go all the way to the top. Alright, so I'm going to draw this a little harder so you can see it on the camera, but normally I would not draw this hard. Okay, now from there I'm going to look at all the other little lines inside the leaf before I draw the outside of the leaf. So I know from the center line here there are smaller lines that spread out. And they go up sort of at a diagonal. They are reaching upwards. And I'm really looking here. And so there's little space in between them. I notice on my leaf the veins aren't aligning right together, so there's a little space in between. Some of them are a little more bumpy than others, so I'm going to make these a little more bumpy. Okay, so there I have started. Now it almost just looks like a tree branch right now, but now I'm going to focus on what I see on the outside of my leaf. So on my leaf, it's probably hard to tell on the camera, but there's a lot of zigzaggy lines that I see around the edge. So I am going to focus on where these zigzag and how they align with all these lines that I already drew. So really it's just observing what the leaf actually looks like. Don't make it up, really look at it. Now the tippy top of my leaf is off the paper, so I have to come down and start a little lower. And I notice at the tops of all of these lines, there is kind of a point, like a triangle point. Okay, so there is the drawing of my leaf. Notice how it is very, very, very large. And now I'm going to add color. Okay, so now comes the time to color in the leaf, and here is where I'm going to give you some options as the artist on how you want to do this. You could, if you want to outline this with Sharpie and paint it in with watercolor paint, you could paint it in with watercolor paint. If you want to do oil pastels and watercolor paint and do a resist, you could do a resist. If you want to do all of this with oil pastel, go for it. I'm going to give you a lot of options here. So what I'm going to do, I think I'm going to play a little bit with oil pastels and a little bit with watercolor and toy around with that resist, how they resist each other. So you also will get the choice, do you want your leaf to look like the one that you were observing? Or do you want to set that to the side and now kind of choose your own color palette and do your own artistic choices here? So I'm going to probably do my own artistic choices, and it might be a little bit inspired by what I see on my leaf to help guide me a little bit. So I'm just going to get to work here. Alright, so here I am done with my leaf. So I kind of changed my mind as I went. I started with the oil pastel thinking I was going to do a resist with watercolor, but then as I was working with the oil pastel I realized I liked what I was doing. So I just went with that. So now what I'm going to do, so I changed my mind midway through, which is fine, as long as you can see it and you understand where you're going. So now I'm going to do my background space with watercolor. So my leaf will be oil pastel, my background will be watercolor paints. And I'm going to focus on using cool colors in the background to make the warm colors really stand out and be very, very vibrant. It's already vibrant the way it is, but once I put some darker, cooler tones behind it, it's going to make this pop. So I'm going to do that next. All complete. I'm really, really happy with the result here. So this is our nature-inspired artwork using a variety of techniques that you have learned in art class, and it's your choice on how to finish it off. So I chose oil pastel blending for the leaf and watercolor background using warm and cool colors.